Namaskar. This is Professor Aman Agarwal from Indian Institute of Finance, and I'm very happy to bring for you the meeting on the essence of life and growth. We are today again talking about the life essence of life and growth. The prime objective of this meeting is to induce positivity and talk about the positive aspects of life and growth. I have tried to bring before you people from all facets of life from across the globe to talk about what do they feel based on their life experiences of 30 to 40 years of history as to what do they feel are their understandings of this basic and important component of life and growth, and what do they feel are the essence based on their life scenarios. Because I personally believe that in the span of 3 to 4 decades, one is able to grasp or understand or get a perception of how things go up and down because one goes through some of these different colors and facets of life, whether it's in a personal sphere or work sphere or seeing countries and economies go up and down. So in terms of all structures, one is able to actually witness some of these spheres. So I bring before you people from across the globe. And today we have a very important member of the society, a man who has made himself a person who has struggled, brought through things. He's based out of the US. Fortunately for us, he is currently visiting India and adhering to the lockdown we are subjected to. Although if he would have been in the US, there is distancing, but there is no lockdown in the US. And he spends almost half of the year here and half of the year there, as he has his headquarters based in the US and then large part of it here. I will not be introducing him formally because I want him to, before we begin the formal introduction, I will open the scope for him. And I would like him to introduce himself, talk about a little bit, spend 5 minutes or so explaining a little bit about his journey of life. His life as an entrepreneur, his life as an employee, as a student, how has he grown in different phases, different environments, and what has it brought him to before we actually start today with the introduction on essence of life. So I would like him to speak about his life, his personal experiences of about 5 to 10 minutes, contain it to 5 minutes or 7 minutes, so that we can then begin with the basic issues which we are talking about, the essence of life. As a disclaimer, my dear friends, we are observing all the norms advised by the Ministry of Home Affairs in terms of protecting, keeping security measures up. Zoom has also introduced a large number of security measures. We will be keeping all audios and videos off. Everyone is requested to keep them off in case by mistake it switches on. In case it doesn't, then the cybersecurity head who is there as one of the co-hosts would actually take you off the list as soon as the person is live for a longer time. We will open the mics and videos for those who would like to ask questions. Anyone who is interested in asking questions is requested to raise a hand either during the course of the meeting or later on. But for the first 20-25 minutes, we would be only interacting with Ashok. Ashok Laha is currently, as I said, the founder, president, and CEO of Intera Information Technologies Incorporation, headquartered in the US, and also having a large setup, a big setup of his office in India as well. And he spends partly his time here and partly his time in the US. We are also honored to have him as an adjunct professor at the Indian Institute of Finance, where he takes up large number of courses, interactions on entrepreneurship, on risk-taking aptitudes, and the leadership skills which are required for bringing in. So we've had large number of his interactions. In fact, we also had a seminar on artificial intelligence, and we were happy to have him as a co-panelist there as well to give his input, as he is one of the leading companies which is doing work for both the government and the private sector in the country. So I will move on to Ashok in a few seconds. Ashok, I will be putting you on the slides and listen to you. I hope you hear my voice. Ashok?
Yeah, I can hear your voice. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Okay.
So you are on Spotlight now. I would request you to begin. As I said, I would like you to spend about 5 to 7 minutes or maybe 10 minutes talking about the way you began your journey and your life experiences. How did you grow and how did you come to the current position of what you are? I know it is even struggling today. As an entrepreneur, you never leave the struggle. And that's, I think, a very important component of being an entrepreneur or someone who wants to thrive like you. And I feel that I get to learn so much, and I see you as a mentor from that perspective, and I see that kind of structure which you bring forth. I would like you to kindly highlight before the participants as to how have you built up from the very school age or the college age, wherever you want to begin from, before we begin our session on the essence of life and growth.
Okay. Thanks, Aman, Professor Agarwal. It's a pleasure to be here. Call Aman. Yeah, I'll call you Aman. Okay. It's a pleasure to be here. Good morning to everybody, or good evening or good afternoon, depending on time zone. Yeah, I attended one of the things when some Japanese friend was there. To him is a konnichiwa. Okay, and okay, so it's a pleasure to be here. Aman, I congratulate you for doing such a wonderful thing at this seminar, series of seminars. It's very lively, very pertinent, very important thing. You have done it. And in all fairness to you, is not, don't take a compliment, but this is you have done a wonderful job. And I have seen, I know your father. I met him. He's a wonderful person. But I know some of your family members also. But mostly I know you, and you are a wonderful guy. You have done a wonderful job. Okay. So let me talk about my what I want to talk about today. About the topic, I was thinking of what I'm going to talk about it. Then I realized that maybe I should talk about my life story. Okay. Before that, when I was in a grade 3, my father used to spend time with me 1 hour every morning, I don't know, 5 to 6 o'clock. Every morning he used to spend time with me from that day on. And he used to teach me about the history, world war, British Empire, British history, literature, everything else. And it's fascinating. I used to learn from him quite a lot. I'm an engineer by profession. I'm a software engineer, but I learned history quite a lot and literature from him. And he actually taught me to have an interest in those areas. Okay. Now, one of the things he taught me at that time, I can remember still rest of my life today, is that one of the things he taught me about a quote from Mark Twain. Mark Twain said, 2 most important days in your life are day you are born and the day you find out why you are born. The Mark Twain. I'm still trying to find out why I'm born. The answers as you move on, from the 10 to 20 to when I 10s to 60s or 70s right now. So the answer varies as I grow older. The answers are different. Okay. So let's talk about my life story. Before I go there, what the essence of life? The essence of life is growth. Growth is needed to move forward, to make your dreams a reality, to make your goals happen. So my father taught me, set a goal for yourself. So I got a series of goals since I'm a childhood. So I'll come back to what are the goals I set up. Very small, short goals. No, nothing fancy. I was born in Calcutta. My last name is Laha. Laha family is a very rich family in Calcutta. They are in a Bengal history. If you read the Bengal history, anybody read the Bengal history, they are mentioned in the history book. They are a very old family. But I was born with a rusty spoon in my mouth. Not the silver spoon, rusty spoon in my mouth. So I used to go to my rich Laha relatives, and I used to get disappointed. Then I set a goal for myself that I want to be financially independent. That's my goal when I was 10 years old or something like that, that time frame. Okay. So my life, everything I did so far is a set of series of goals. When I was so how to get out from that place where you're right now, So my father told me to work hard, set a goal for yourself. So I set a goal that I want to get into one of the two professions. Two professions were at the time frame was one is a engineering and one is a medical doctor. I elected engineering because of my knack for the math and everything else. So I selected engineering. I went to one of those best college in India, in Calcutta, India at the time frame, Jadavpur University in Calcutta. And then as you go along, then I made a deal, make a relationship with the professors. And professors, I was impressed with some of the professors, they're very good, excellent. And they all went to US. So they told me, set a goal yourself to go to US study. So I worked hard in a college, I studied hard, wrote GRE, got a high score, and went to a college, only grad school in Canada. That was my next goal. And my happiness is related to the meeting the goal, accomplishing the goal. So I was very elated when I landed up in Canada, I was very elated that I accomplished my goal. Next goal was I set up the goal is that how to, this is 70s. 70s was a pretty bad, extremely bad recession going on in the US in the 70s. And it's as bad as today. 25, 30 million people are unemployed at the time frame. People got a PhD, they're driving taxi and all other stuff.
True.
So I set a goal myself, I have to get a job. So only way you're going to get a job is you work hard in studies so that your professor recommend you got a good GPA, hopefully you're going to get a job. So I did all of them. Then I went to US, moved to Chicago. After a month interviewing lots of places, ultimately I got a job in one of the MNC. So that's my next goal. And I was very happy that I got the job in a very good, as a software engineer. My next goal, I set up goal is after 5 or 6 months, once I get settled to this company, big company, understand the politics and everything else, I set a goal myself, how to get promoted here? It's a fair question, how to get promoted here? Okay. So I talked with I found a mentor. He taught me everything. That's one of the most important things in the life, get a mentor. I use lots of mentors. And he taught me he told me what other things has to be done and everything else. He was brutally frank and everything else. And then 5 years down the line, I got promoted. My boss left, I got this job. So anyhow, that's what happened. Then my next goal, then it lasted for 10 years. After 10 years, I moved up, nothing, regular job employment. Then one of the company I was working in California at the time frame, they asked me to come to India to manage the Indian operation. It's a Silicon Valley company, manage the Indian operation. And the company was in a pretty bad shape. 10, 15 people, morale is low and everything else. So I set a goal myself that I want to make this company one of the successful company in the country. I stayed for 3 years. I left the company. When I left the company was one of the most successful software company and a highly respected company in this country, in India today. The guy who took over my job, I groomed him because I knew I came here for a 2 or 3 years assignment, So he's doing a wonderful job. He's one of the greatest managers in this country. I mentored him. He's one of the greatest managers in this country. Now, by the time I work for 20 years in other people or for somebody else, then I took a venture. The book came out at the time frame. Bill Gates wrote a book called The Road Ahead. I read the book and then I said, let's forget about the working for somebody, let's start a company. Thus we started the Inter-IT at that time frame. It's a wonderful journey. I went to 2 recessions, 2001 dot-com bust, And then 2008, financial crisis in US.
Mhm.
You know, we survived. I'm a survivor. I'm a very positive person, so nothing bothers me. You know, make it happen. And then right now, so I'm sure that this what's going on today will survive and will be much stronger. That's my
True.
whole life story is.
Yeah. Beautiful. I think it's very important that everybody came to know, the life of an entrepreneur. In fact, after discussing with you yesterday, I thought that I would start another series on life of an entrepreneur, and that will be in our session, but that will be not every day. That will be, once in a week or so, which I would like to start. After having talked to you yesterday evening, that came to my mind in the morning today. And I thought, it's important that people know how entrepreneurs grow, what are the struggles, how survival is important, and one needs to survive in any field one is. Now let's get back to what we were.
One other point.
Yes.
When I started the company, I purposely didn't take any money from the venture capital or any investors, because I talked to a few other people. Before I started the company, I talked to lots of people. And one of the advice I got that the moment you take the money from anybody else, they'll become your boss.
Correct.
You don't have the freedom to do whatever you want to do. You always have to stick with them. So today I don't have any boss except my wife. That anyway.
Boss.
Yeah, she's the boss. She runs the company.
Yes.
One employee. But other than that, I can do anything which I want to do. I didn't take the money. I put my own money and everything else, and then and work hard and to do whatever there.
Yes. And there is no dearth of growth which I can see, and the vision which I see in you whenever I interact with you. Now, coming on to our key issue, which is there, you are beautifully outlined your struggle, your survival, and setting up goals, goals after goals, moving those small steps, which this Hollywood actress also spoke about the other day, that we need to take small steps and not worry about the final destination. And then when we go build upon those small steps is what we are going to see move forward. Now, what are those key factors you identify as being the essentials of life and essentials of growth?
Essential of the growth is that I think that first thing, I think somebody taught me this a long time ago. One of the advantages of working in the US is that you get lots of great people. You take a chance to meet lots of great people. And I was curious, I always want to learn. So I asked them questions, Other thing is that I read lots of books I read, technical management books and literature, everything else. So one of the things people told me that goal, you have to be positive. And you have to be positive because life is full of ups and downs. And you still stay focused. Yeah, if you stay focused, positive, set a goal, and don't do the 5 years goal, so set a short-term goal, Something I think Stephen Covey wrote a very nice book called 7 Habits. It's a personal goal. You have a personal goal, professional goal, you have to write that. And what it takes, I think somebody, I read, I forgot who told that, he said that you don't have to compete with other people, you have to compete with yourself. Are you better today than yesterday? If you can find a metric by which you know that you are better today than compared to yesterday, then you are growing. And I listened to one of those great management guru, Leo Buscaglia. He used to be famous in the 80s, and he told the story about immigrated from the Italy, and he came to New York, and he said that his father told him that unless you speak English fluently, you'll not go any place in your life here. So his father made a rule that every day before on a dinner table, he used to ask questions, Leo, what you have learned today? So Leo said, I used to go to the dictionary, I used to go to encyclopedia to pick up a word which I can say I learned today. That's what he learned. learning is a everyday affair. You have to learn every day. That's the goal. So be positive, learn every day, admit your mistakes. I made thousands and thousands of mistakes, and so just to make sure don't repeat the mistake.
True.
That's it.
No, I agree. When you were saying this, it reminded me of a thought which my father read to me the other day from Rig Veda. And it was Rig Veda 1-89-1, which says that let noble thoughts come to us from every side. And it's important that we need to keep our windows open for all those thoughts to come in, And this just got reminded when you spoke of the way you read books and you want, information and knowledge to come in. So do you, from your talk which you have said so far, I feel that, do you think positivity is the key for unlocking good luck?
Yeah, you have to be positive. You have to be very positive. I don't like to criticize anybody else. I'm a human being. So I got 10,000 faults there. So who am I to judge another human being? Who have given a right to judge a human being? So if there's somebody, in my life in US, particularly in the corporate world, when I was going to get promoted, there were lots of people. You have to fight with lots of people. They'll be unfair. When I say I got promoted, that's an easy promotion. You have to compete with lots of people. You are competitive. You have to compete with the people. But you have to be positive because people will not get to you. People will provoke you. There are lots of people I met, they'll provoke you. They'll talk very nicely, they'll provoke you. So what's the big deal? You just stay positive, and they're doing the job, whatever do that. I don't have to invite them for my house, for drinks, but professionally, I'll be nice to them. I try not to be negative to anybody. I try to say not any bad things about people. And I always want to surround myself with the people who are positive. If anybody in the company who are negative, I don't want to keep them in a company also because they pull everybody down. Negative people pull everybody down in the organization.
Correct. So you remind me that, all entrepreneurs live in a very uncertain environment. They struggle through the uncertain environment. It's like the tough waters in the sea. So do you think that life is inherently unpredictable and insecure?
Well, life is unpredictable, One of the CEO I met before when I started the company, I went to lots of people, lots of entrepreneurs. He's a famous entrepreneur in the United States, US. He's a Joe Costello. He told me that when you start the company, you will see the list of unknowns are ceiling high. List of knowns are small. Your challenge is to move those things from the unknown factor to the known factor. It's unpredictable. The unpredictability, and you try to follow the path from one point A to B, make a hypothesis, go to that side, and then redo the hypothesis, always continuously. Ask people question, you are going to the right same place or not, and then if not, then correct yourself. Make a mistake and admit your mistake, correct yourself. Don't be arrogant. That's one thing I found out. Don't be arrogant. Listen to other people, but you have to fund. You cannot. It's not democracy. It's up to your life, my life, my company. When I have to pay price for it, I cannot put any blame to anybody else other than myself. So that's what I do. Life is unpredictable, and that makes it interesting. Life. That's why I enjoy every day of it. Every day I get up in the morning. I think who the guy was. Somebody mentioned that you wake up in the morning. Here's the 90s. And he said, I wake up in the morning, and then I put a hand in my nose, see I'm breathing or not. I get up. He said, yeah. Then I read a newspaper, have a cup of coffee, I cigar, and then I start enjoying the life today. I don't know whether I can get up tomorrow morning or not. I follow the same philosophy. Who knows what will happen, whether I leave tomorrow or not. So enjoy the life, no regret.
Correct. I believe in this. That is, one needs to invest in oneself. But do you think investing in yourself is important to induce growth and happy living in oneself, in one's life?
Yes, definitely. You have to invest yourself. First thing you have to invest is the health. You know, you have to be healthy. You know, and health doesn't matter how old you are.
Mm-hmm.
I I smoke, but I smoke moderately. I I do I drink, but I drink very moderately, so that they don't get to me. And but you have to invest not only yourself on a health, number one, number two, your intellectual. You know, you have to surround yourself with the people who are better than you. You know, Jim Rohn, one of the famous management guru, told that your average of the 5 people you spend most of the time with. Your average of the 5 people who you spend most of the time with. So if you surround yourself with the better people, then your IQ, your intellect goes up. So I try to do that with people who are better than me. That is learning process. Plus, you know, it's a let's say it's a 24 hours a day, right? In a day. So I sleep only 6 hours, 7 hours, not more than that. And so there are lots of free time available. So I try to manage the time. Manage time is the most important thing. How to manage the time is so of course there's sometimes I take for the recreation to watch movies and everything else. But you always think of you're going to grow. Sometimes I fail, but most of the lots of time I succeed. So that's you're going to grow. You have to grow every day. You have to grow. I'll stop growing when I die.
True. I fully believe in that. In fact, my mother recently retired a couple of years back from the University of Delhi as a principal of a college, and I told her the same thing, that you only retire at the last breath of your life. Till that time, you do not retire, and you must and contribute to the society and to your own self as well. Your company is, as a matter of fact, is a soft skill company. You totally dependent on the soft skills of a person.
Yes, yeah.
And so it's for you, managing is very difficult because it's about human capital management.
Yes.
So how do you think one can enhance that human capital? Because when we are working in organizations, people normally try to upgrade their skills to the areas of specialization they are in, but they don't look at the facets of life. And this is where I find some of the American companies which have grown large, or even Indian companies who have grown very large, actually do induce segments where people get to engage themselves in enhancing their skills in other areas as well. But otherwise, largely the companies tend to build on whatever they are or whatever functional areas they are. So how do you, as an entrepreneur, as a person who sponsors livelihoods of thousands of people in the country, and one after the other, it's not, you may be sponsoring one, but then that person is another sponsoring 4 or 5 people to work with him. As a result, it's almost thousands of, it's a multiplier effect which you do in terms of providing livelihood to people. How can one enhance human capital to understand and benefit from the essence of life?
I think, I'm in a software company. The most important thing in a software company is to hire people who are positive.
Correct.
Hire people who are positive, who are smarter than you. Hire smarter people. If you hire, and what they call it, A+ people. If you hire those people, then, and if you give them a freedom to not to micromanage, freedom to manage themselves, they will prosper. Any organization, look, we are not a TCS or Infosys or big companies. We have to be better than them. Better than them in the quality and efficiency. So those are the most 2 key factors. And the people, the quality of the people, you have to do that with their, and that's one thing I found out when I went to California. Right now I'm in California based. California, Silicon Valley has got lots of people, they're hungry people. And they are the brightest, some of the brightest brain in the United States, they're all in Silicon Valley, you know. And so if you hire those type of people, and not a, what I use the word, don't hire a clerks, hire people who are entrepreneurs. They will be future entrepreneurs. You know, they can work with you and then they can move on. They can run another company. I had lots of people in my life who are right now who are CEO or a senior vice president or some other place in a place. I'm so proud of them. You know, so so I think you have to hire the recruitment starts for, if you hire the right recruitment people and you train them and mentor them. I spend most of the time, half the time, mentoring people, spend time with the people, and so if you do that, your company will grow. That's what I do.
I agree. Yeah. You know, I also read another quote recently, which was, don't go through life, grow through life. How do you see that?
Also, I didn't hear you. Can you repeat again?
Don't go through life. Don't just live life.
Yeah.
As you first pointed out, I don't know why have I been born. So don't go through life. Grow through life.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I fully agree with you. You know, you are not born. You know, I think that I get very frustrated. You know, that's one thing I found out when I went to US. I'm glad I went to US because there it doesn't matter how many years of experience you have got. Question is what value you can add. The value you can add. You know, that's the question. You know, that's a different challenge. And US, you probably see that lots of CEOs. Then it's 20s or the 30s or 40s, they're 30s. You know, in India, all the CEOs are in the 50s or 60s. You know, there are CEOs are there. So I think that's important. You know, it's not, you're born, but then question how fast you can grow, and what value you can add. That only counts. You know, that's one thing.
I agree with you.
I fully agree with your statement.
Yes. So, you know, how do you see life shaping up as a futuristic perspective in the next 6 months to a year?
In the next 6 months, a year, the coronavirus taught us two things. One is that particularly it's mostly in the Indian mindset, but also in somewhat in the US mindset also. Let me tell you why. Most of the management schools, they teach people how to manage people when people are sitting next to you. It's very easy to manage people sitting next to you. You see them, you meet them, you give them a task and everything else. Coronavirus told people are working from home, right? So you don't see those people. So how to manage them, how to make sure they're productive. Now, so that means you have to build a relationship with them. You have to manage them by assignments rather than micromanaging them and do all those things. So I hope that the fact that it works, it's working, you know, which led me to believe that our work culture will change for the next 6 to 8 months. You know, we probably rely more on the Zoom. We don't have to travel so much. Well, we can get people from, you know, right now we hire people. Say if I hire people from Bangalore, I have to tell the guy, you have to move to Noida or Calcutta. I can say that you can work from home.
Correct.
You know, once a month you come here, meet us. If you want to stay in Bangalore, they can be in Bangalore. And so that the management style will change. Managers will spend more time on the not the micromanaging it, not to telling people what to do. You know, ultimately we are hiring people. You know, the people who are hiring, they're professional engineers. They're very bright people, and they got a brain, right? I want to use them as a brain rather than a clerk. I want to challenge their brain. I want to encourage them to do that. So management style will change quite a lot. And it will create a productivity. Some manager will not be able to do it. I can guarantee you that some manager will not be able to do it. They'll follow wayside, you know, but it will transform completely our working culture.
Mhm, mhm.
No.
So that is something. Now, what is, in your opinion, the success mantra for tomorrow? You've been a person who manages uncertainty. So, what would you say should be the success mantra for tomorrow, especially when it comes to youth and the students?
Yeah, tell people that everybody should thrive to be an entrepreneur, even when school days, from college days, and everything else. That's the one thing US taught us. That they kick people out from the when they are 14, 18. The high school they kick people leave. Even they live in the same area, they got their own place. So they want to be independent. So independence is the most important thing. Independence also tell you that you have to be you have to be communicate effectively.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how great you are. The only thing counts is that whether people think you are great. That means the communication. Effective communication is the most important thing. We spend too much time on a GPA, CGPA, GPA, that type of stuff. But we don't spend too much at all on the communication skills, effective communication skills. I know that when I was in Jadavpur, I graduated when I left Jadavpur, I didn't probably give only one public speaking, one speech in my whole life when I defended my one of my thesis.
Mm-hmm.
Other than I never got a chance because that's not there. Right now, I think lots of schools are doing it, but that's important. Communication is the most important thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Technical skill, of course, is important, but I try to tell my managers, hire people who are the excellent communicator, who can
Mm-hmm.
talk, because they will impress the people. They'll be able to help people in. So the business model is going to change. This thing, and those people will succeed. I always communicate. I always recommend people improve your communication skill, improve your management skills. Whatever you learn today, at least in the software industry, whatever you learn today, that's obsolete after 5 years. That's
Mm-hmm.
obsolete.
Mm-hmm.
I learned so many languages in my life. You know, but if you got a basic background there, you can code, and no job is insignificant. I've seen people come and tell me, I'm a manager, I do not do coding. I think get lost. When you start a company, you have to do coding, you have to do sweeping the floor, as well as you have to talk with the kings and queens.
Correct.
So that value for the work, respect for the work is most important thing.
I agree. I agree. The value is very important.
Yeah.
How does one measure happiness in life? What is your mantra for measuring happiness in life?
My measure of happiness is very simple. I set a goal. I set a goal myself. If I accomplish the goal, I'm happy. Hmm. Of course, the other factor, other happiness comes in if my daughter is happy. Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
When my daughter go to if is sick, then
Mm-hmm.
I felt sad about it.
Mm-hmm.
If my wife is happy, I feel happy. I try to spend my time, make sure both of them are happy. I got only one daughter. You know, my close relatives and close friends. Hmm, I want to make sure they're happy. Hmm,
Mm-hmm.
then the people, then that makes me feel good about it. Because you like to surround yourself, or there are people. I always try to help people in my own way. you know if there are people in my office who are sick, they don't have money to go to the doctor, I want to send them best doctors in the country, possible. So I want to make sure, so something I can do, I can give it for the society. That helps me, makes me feel good about it. i
Mm-hmm.
I've taught in my life lots of people. Hmm. I have taught lots of people, voluntary teaching, you know I was teaching when I was you see, when I was 13 years old. I was making tuition, you know, but all the young kids I was teaching, that makes me quicker. So I love to teach, you know, and if I see one of my employees succeeded, you know, I feel very good about it, you know. So there are lots of facets of happiness, you know. One of the guys who used to work for me, I hired him. He's one of the brightest guys for IIT Delhi. I hired him cadence in 94 or 93 or 94 time frame. Right now he's a CEO. He became a CEO of one of the major consulting company in the country. I didn't mention the name of the company, but the major consulting company of this kind of highly respected consulting company in this country. When I heard the news, he called me. I feel very good about it. I was happy.
Yeah, last two questions before I ask the house for more questions and open it for them. I would request everyone to raise their hands, whoever wants to ask a question. Just last three questions. You know, is life according to you, you know, you have been able to get large components of factors of life crossing the hurdles. Do you think life is all about money and power, or there is more to it?
No, life is not all about money and power. I strongly believe that. But money is a yardstick because you have to have enough money to survive. Survive means that you have enough food, you must have a decent house, not a palace, decent house, live comfortable, the basic necessities, you know, and you have enough money so that if you go to the hospital, you know, if you go to the medical treatment, you can go to medical treatment, at least in this country, in India, you know. So because we don't have medical insurance at all, you know, so that you should save the money. So I always save the money. After that, it all depends on person to person. You know, I don't care too much. It bothers me about have to have a Rolls Royce or some car. Doesn't bothers me. Now it depends. When I was a kid, when I was in the US in my 20s, you know, I was excited about buy a red Mustang because that excites me, you know, but that lasted for 1 or 2, 3 years. You know, after that, you know, once you got it, that's it. You know, so I think it all depends on person to person. No, I don't get excited about the big house or big car or everything else, you know. No, those things doesn't bother me, you know. And whenever I get a chance, I give the money back to the people. I want to make enough money so I can give back money to the bunch of people I can help them out.
Correct. Last two questions, as I said, you know, a lot of countries are looking at this happiness index or a structure where they're talking about to quantify happiness and see and make it as part of their growth factor and announce that's an important component of growth. Whereas countries still look at things like GDP numbers, jobs, bank balances people have. So what is your take on, you know, what should be the right kind of a structure which looks at growth? When we say growth, whether it is an individual level, micro level, or a macro level like a country, should we talk about happiness or should we talk about these factors like GDP numbers and the jobs and the bank balance?
I think you know, in my mind, both are related. If you're you know, why people go to US? People go to US because there are enough jobs. It's a wealthy country, enough jobs. You know, so everybody, there's no beggar than the street. There are some beggars, but they're minuscule compared to which you find here. So GDP is important. You know, countries today is much more prosperous today than countries when I grew up. You know, so the GDP is most important, you know, the wealth is most important, you know, that gives unemployment, that's the employment, you know. When I grew up in 60s, 70s, yeah, and most of the people don't have a decent job for which they studied in a college. Those education are needed. So, but you can, whatever I learn in the college, engineering college, you can effectively use it in US. The industry is advanced. So that's why advanced industry has to be there. There has to be some research or something like that has to happen. And that will give a GDP growth. That will lead to GDP growth. You cannot just be the importers. You have to have a growth economy. But that's not the most important thing. You have to have, they're interrelated. I strongly believe that if you don't have a happy people, then you cannot grow. You don't want to run an industry or any company where everybody coming with the the bad face, face like that, face like that. You like to have a people who dance around, like one of the movie I seen it called Tom Cruise's movie Jerry Maguire. You're so happy. Yeah, so you have to be people who are happy because they'll be more productive. They're related, But happiness is the most important thing. Otherwise, what will happen? You'll have lots of mental case happen, you have lots of psychiatrists happen. Other things will happen, So GDP is most important. Country prosperity is most important. I feel very good today when I go to. I'm an American citizen, but when I go to the US, then people ask me the question, where you're born at India, and then I feel very good in India because people treat you in India respect. But when I can remember when I landed up in the 70s in US, people was asking the question, some people ask me the question, do you got a house? No, I say, no, we live in a trees. They don't have no idea how the US look like, because they saw only pictures of the those things. Right now, Indians are highly respected in the US because they're intelligent. They're proven themselves.
Yes.
So the growth is important. Country GDP growth is important. When the Prime Minister Modi is doing a wonderful job, I salute him for that. You do a wonderful job. If country is on a map, that's what we needed. At the same time, you have to have a happiness. You have to have a happy people. If you don't have happy people, then you'll have a huge problem in the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, last question from me before I open the house for questions, and I have a couple of people who raised their hands. What's your advice to youth and the young budding entrepreneurs for tomorrow?
Oh, I'll say youth, all youth, I'll say that, and particularly the entrepreneurs. I'll say that don't get discouraged by the failure. Be entrepreneur. Be entrepreneur, whatever is there, that take ownership. Don't think of the clerks. Challenge, because God gave you a brain, and your brain, fortunately, is much better than your parents' brain, your teacher's brain. Because you learn much more. You have grown much more. Knowledge is much better than today. My daughter is much more knowledgeable, much differently than what I used to think. I still got that bad dogma, bad habits there.
Mm-hmm.
So use the occasion. Don't be arrogant. Stay focused. Stay focused. Have a personal goal. Personal goal. And I probably strongly suggest all the young people read the book 7 Habits by Stephen Covey. That's one of the wonderful books you read. And read books. Don't waste time. Don't go to Facebook and then important. Don't waste your time. Your time is the most important thing, value. There are 24 hours a day. You only you sleep 6 hours. Don't sleep more than that. And use the time to learn new things. Learn new things. And then you'll grow. And set a goal for yourself. Don't set a goal for 10 years goal. That's not important. Set a goal for what you can accomplish tomorrow. So you can say that I am better, 2021, I'm much better than 2020. And that will grow. And don't get discouraged. Failure is a part of life. Learn from the failure. Admit failure, move on.
I fully appreciate and agree with you that failure has to be taken as a part of life, as a part and parcel of life. And now I'll open the house, so I will move you out of the spotlight. I have Dr. Yamini Agarwal who wants to ask a question. Dr. Yamini. Just a second, please. I have to unmute you. Just a second, Yamini, please. Yeah, please go ahead now.
Good afternoon, Mr. Laha. My question. Good afternoon. My question to you is, have you ever felt the compulsions of quitting your entrepreneurial stride? And if yes, what were they and how did you overcome them?
Yes, there are times, you know, you feel like quitting, you know, that's a part of personal life, you know. I'll not say that I am always I'll admit that, yeah, that times when I felt like quitting, you know. 2008 is one of the worst time happened, you know, when you don't know when you're going to pay the salaries of the people, a lot of stuff, or your business going down. But then you take a deep breath, and then you ask yourself, you know, think of it, you know, and then you say that no, I'm not a quitter. I don't want to quit. So it's a fight against the quitting is the most easy thing to do, but that's not how I want to do that. I want to quit. So that's what it is. At the end of the day, my other part of the heart told me that don't quit. So I fought it out and walked out. It happens to everybody. It happens to me quite a number of times. I'll say.
Mr. Meenu Bhagwat. Mr. Meenu Bhagwat is a struggler, and I've seen him struggle and do a lot of social work. I would request him, you know, if he can ask his question, because I know he has been a person who keeps moving around and doing things. Mr. Bhagwat, Mr. Meenu Bhagwat, is he here?
Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead.
Aman, between you and Mr. Laha, you have summed up everything about life and growth. And I'm too small a guy to challenge any of those ideas. But the problem is the world is too bad. The world is really bad. We have got good goals. We have got good ambitions. But India is so huge, we can't do anything for them. And that's where one needs to introspect. What can be done for the migrant workers who are having a tough time, for the daily wage workers who are without one time food. And we should, I think, in future concentrate more in terms of trying to do something for them than trying to do something for ourselves. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Meenu. Yeah. Ashok, would you want to take something and give a comment on that?
Yeah, I can make a comment. You know, I cannot solve the global problem, you know, but I gave some money to the Prime Minister Fund, you know. But most important thing what I have done is that I got a bunch of daily wagers there. You know, the people who work in my house, they're not coming to my house. Or some of the people, they come to my office. You know, I got lots of staff there. They clean the place and everything else. I'm paying the salaries to all the people. I'm keeping them all paid, you know. The guy who comes to my house, you know, he's not coming for the last 1 month, but I'm going to pay the money which I pay. So I'm supporting them, all of the stuff, you know. Anybody comes to any of the neighborhood people, they ask for money, I give them money to them. That's all they can do. I cannot solve, you know. I think this is the migrant problem. All the migrant problem is a big problem. It's a government level. I don't know, they screwed up the thing badly, but whatever they did. But I can do my own part of it, you know. I can do my own part of it. I'm doing my own part. None of the people in my company, they work for me. They'll all get paid. If they got a medical problem, I make sure I'll pay them money. We take care of the medical problem. Everything else, I'll take care of it.
Sure. No, I fully agree. And, you know, the fact that, as I said, you have the multiplier effect being an entrepreneur, you have been sponsoring large number of people. giving them livelihood, making them making them into trees. And that's very good objective of yours, that you want them to grow as an entrepreneur. You don't want them to be constant, stagnant at one place. You want the water flowing. And I think that's very important. I have Ms. Hetal Parekh who wants to ask. I would request her to introduce herself before she asks the question. Please. Go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon, Professor Raman. Good afternoon, Mr. Laha. This is Hetal Parekh from Rajkot, Gujarat here.
Good afternoon. Namaskar.
Namaskar, sir. Sir, wonderful presentation, wonderful insights that you shared with us today. I take economics subject and business studies subject in class 12 of the central board here in Rajkot. And we run our pharmaceutical business also. My husband runs it. So the point that you shared earlier, a few minutes back, that we should be hiring people who are more competitive than us, and we should be happy seeing them growing and moving. We have been following that since a longer period of time. But the problem that we face is that the attrition rate, the turnover rate then goes up, they learn from us and we cannot hold them. They move for the better positions. And so every time a year or three pass, and then we again have to look for better people. So can you say something about it, please, sir?
Yes, you have to hire, you have to hire people who are better than you, always,
Yes.
Not all of them, but some people you have to keep them there. Now we incentivize some people. I need them. I expect that somebody important I'll hold them for 2 years. After 2 years, they have to grow, move up or move down, move up, So I got a immediate replacement plan for all the people. I try to develop a replacement plan for all the people, do that, And the critical people, you pay them, we offer them stock options to the company. They own the part of the company. We give them a long-term retention bonuses. So if they leave, they probably leave lots of few lakh rupees on the table. They would agree with otherwise. Plus,
right.
I want to spend time with them. I heard that, I believe in people leave the company most of the time because of managers. If they get respected, if they get treated, then they will not leave.
Right.
I can remember one case once in my life. A number of cases. One case I can think of it. I met a lady in one of the best hotel in this town in Delhi, one of the best hotel in India. I saw very impressive. I asked her that I'm looking for a head of the admin. Do you want to come and work for a head of admin? And I said that, look, you have a unique chance and everything else, blah, 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 all other stuff. Plus, you will get a chance to go to US. Plus, salary-wise, you bring me last paycheck, I'll double the number. I doubled the number, okay? I told them. She got tempted. After a week or so, she came and told me, I gotta leave the place. This place is my home. This hotel is my home. And so question is that if you build the relationship, I got a number of people, working in my company. They're very bright people. They're working for 20 years. They started the company, do that. We got a fight and everything else, but overall they know that I respect them. They respect me. So you have to hire those type of people. So one thing I think Jack Welch talked about it, that identify your top 20% people and hold them tight. Kiss them, hug them, whatever to do to hold them tight. And then
it's about maintaining the informal relationships as well.
Yeah.
And offering the non-monetary perks also.
Yeah. That's most important thing. HR is the most challenging thing today. Today HR is the most challenging thing.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, I have also seen that Mr. Mohammad Halim Khan Saab is here. He is former Secretary, Government of India. I would request Mr. Halim Khan to maybe ask a question or add a comment with that. Mr. Halim Khan ji.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
So how are you facing corona in US and how it is affecting the youth?
Corona, US, I see. I'm in this country since January, February time. I'm supposed to go back in March, April. I came back in a December time frame. I supposed to go back in March, but I didn't go. So, but I'm hearing it. US is a pretty bad shape, But I think that, and I can understand the thing, but the moral is very high. Moral is high. People think it will go. They will open up within a month or so. The economy will boom. Economy will take up. There is a huge unemployment. 20 million people or 30 million people as of today. Unemployed people.
So how it is going to affect us in India?
It's affecting all the software companies today. Like it's affecting our company also. That month of December, January time frame when we did the budget, we saw our revenue forecast in 2020 would be around 30-40% more than 2019. Today, that disappeared. We are just surviving whether we can keep the expenses same as the revenue same as the 2019 revenue. Because every company got hurt. Every company got hurt in US, except probably Apple or Google or probably whatever it is. Most of all the companies got hurt, and it's a chain effect. And when the company got affected, first thing they'll do, they'll cut down the outsourcing the work. We are in outsourcing business. We don't develop any products. So we got hurt first. Every outsourcing company will hurt first. So they have to adapt it. They have to do certain things, to unpleasant things, to make sure they survive. But it will only, I expect that the US economy by nature in January time frame, very strong. So I probably say aberration, it's a peak, but it will go up. Within 3, 4, 5 months, it will take off. Because basic US economy was very strong economy.
I will be very keen to hear something from you. What are the takeaway for India? Any opportunities?
Oh, India, there's a huge opportunity right now. Huge opportunity right now. One thing is that you probably see, at least in our software business, you will see more and more outsourcing will come in. I do believe that, because in the past, what used to happen, US used to bring lots of people, lots of bright people from other countries like India, China, other countries. They used to bring them back to US on a H-1B visa or green card, right? That stopped. So when their business will boom, when the business will they grow again, instead of they're getting people in, there'll be shortage of people. They're excessive people, there's shortage of people. That's why they used to get these immigrants come in. The green H-1B visa, temporary work permit, or the green card. Those work can come to India quite a lot. And people are more used to right now the work from home culture that is working. So those work will come here. So India economy will prosper. Also the manufacturing industry. Manufacturing will prosper quite a lot. Because most of the people are hesitant to go to China. It's a unique opportunity. So you can go to China and get it done. You can bring all the industries there. It's up to us to decide. Can you cut the red tape out? Can you make sure that don't do the retroactive taxes, something like that? Can you make sure friendly, customer friendly, employer friendly operation? If you can do that, there's huge opportunity there. I think India will grow rapidly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ashok. There are many more questions, but we've already crossed our time, and I would like to contain it within time because, as you rightly mentioned, managing time and the value of time is very important. Yeah. And I've been violating it for a couple of sessions in the last few days. I want to contain it within the time frame. Thank you, Ashok. It's very kind of you to have
Thank
come over
Aman.
that hour. I will keep troubling you as you are part of my organization as well.
Sure.
And being part of my organization, I can't let you go. But in any case, as the IT people told me, I must announce who are the speakers for the next 2-3 days, and before I end the session for today. Thank you in any case for the input. I think we're going to bring them out and we will let you know how it comes up. Fortunately, the media has been covering some of them. We are going to have a gentleman from UAE tomorrow, Dr. Sadr Abdul Rashid tomorrow. And then day after, we have Mr. Pradeep K. Gupta, who is an industrialist. Mr. Sadr is a risk manager, works with a large number of companies, oil companies, other companies in Bahrain and UAE and others. And incidentally has been a student as well. Then Pradeep K. Gupta, who is the chairman and an industrialist, has been working for government organizations and is running his own industry here in India. And then we have Åsa from Sweden, who is a leadership coach and has worked with UN and various organizations like the World Economic Forum and all. And she does a large number of consulting for government. So these are the 3 people who are going to be speaking on the same issue tomorrow, day after and all. Thank you again, Ashok. I think each word's value and very important. We must keep our windows open, our minds open. And I think you gave immense full thoughts of looking at life. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of young people who may be there on the panel listening to you would be motivated by what you said today. And especially, I see some of our students who have joined, even they, I feel, who wanted to be entrepreneurs going forward, will feel motivated by what we have been told them. Thank you, Ashok.
Thanks, Aman. Thank you very much. Bye.